Hey, this is not a good one. This is not a tutorial I wanted to make at all. This is the tutorial I did not want to make. Because this is the tutorial on how you do HE on ambush. So the question is, if an HE shell falls in a forest, does it make a bang? Now, the situation that I'm talking about is we have a howitzer, right? Like the one in the picture here. It has declared an ambush. It has declared HE, which is the normal thing for a howitzer to do, right? If you don't declare your howitzers, they have HE. If you don't declare your anti-tank guns, they are loading anti-tank rounds. So, you have to declare the type of ammo you're using. This one, the howitzer has declared HE on ambush. Now, to its right front, there's a forest that's dense terrain. To its left front, there's a house that is line of sight blocking. Both pieces block line of sight. So I have this like narrow lane that I can see down and shoot down with my HE shot. Now, behind the forest, there's an infantry unit. These are formed up in a classic clump, like the one we see here. This is a spread out clump, so it's more of a loaf, I guess. They're clumped together. They're just like the bases are almost touching. But this unit, and they do this because they don't want to be seen behind the forest, so they're using that like line of sight blocking cover to not be seen by my howitzer. But the player owning this unit wants to make a run. He wants to go over to the house, maybe because there's an objective there. So he declares a run move with the unit. From the total line of sight blocking cover behind the forest to the total line of sight blocking cover behind the house. The player also wants the unit to end up in a more of a spread out formation, a snake-like formation where the unit makes a line with approximately 1 inch between each person. Now, I will trigger my ambush in the open while they're running from behind the forest to behind the house. So I'm shooting at just the range there is. There's no cover because he can't get cover. I'm shooting in the open. But how do I place the template? And this becomes very, very important because the way that that template is placed determines how many people I hit, which will determine how many people I kill, which will determine if that unit makes it or not, whether it's dead. Now, the only way to answer this is to say what formation the unit is having while it is moving. Right? Do the unit behind the forest, do they send out one guy at a time? Or do they go from the starting formation and run up and then spread out? What happens? Because that will make a huge difference. Now in the rule book, I have a brand new rule book here. This is from the Bolt Action Library here in Denmark. Basically never opened. In this rule book, there's only one reference to this situation. One. And that is page 59, where it says that once the ambush is declared, the target is positioned accordingly. No explanation as to what that means. No explanation as to who positions them or how they are to be positioned. There is nothing about this in the order of firing. There's like, you do this, you do that, then you do this. Nothing. There's nothing about this under ambush. There's nothing about this under HE. There is one page reference, page 59, that says, and the target unit is positioned accordingly. And this does not even talk about HE. It's just with ambushes in general. So the rule book has a big hole in it where something is not defined, something is not clearly made out. We do not know what this is. Now, there are several solutions you could do. Solution number one could favor the ambusher. So some people, when I've asked this question out in different groups of people, to different people, have said, well, I think the template should be placed before the unit is moved. So, punk. Like, as soon as it's declared, you say, I'm shooting you when you're there, and then you place the template before you move any models. That would heavily favor the ambusher, the person who has the howitzer, right? Because, as I've already stated, the unit is clumped up. It's in a big pile. So as we can see on this picture here, I might get 7 dudes, 8 dudes, all of them. So the result here would be that, depending on the size of your HE, you would get between 4 or 8 or 9 or 10 infantrymen in with your one shot, killing potentially most of them. That would be solution 1. Solution 2 is very, very different. Solution 2 favors the ambushee. Is that a word? Like the person being ambushed? The unit is placed as soon as the ambush is declared. So the ambusher says, right, I'll shoot you when you're here. Then the person owning the unit that's being shot at places that unit when they are there. And then the person shooting will place down the template. This one, most of the time, that means you get 2, maybe 3, potentially, if he's really bad at it, 4 dudes, if it's a really big HE shot. But most of the time, it's 2 to 3 guys, right? Because even the smallest one, that's 1 inch, right? That should be able to get you 2 guys, because you have to have less than 1 inch between bases in a unit, so you get 2 guys, right? So that situation is very different, because in a unit of 8 guys, as we have here, losing 2 men is not a catastrophe at all. I mean, I'll take that. Losing 8 men, that's the unit wiped. So very, very different outcomes. Very different outcomes. Now, a third possible solution that I've seen is this one. You just throw away the template. What do we need that for, right? Throw it away. And use the rules for buildings instead. Because with buildings, you don't place a template. So you get around that whole issue. You just roll a number of hits depending on your HE caliber. So if we look at the back of the book, you'll see here, page 226. There's a reference for HE shots. How many pins, how much penetration, but it also says hits versus targets in buildings. Now, a 1 inch template would hit D3 guys. A 2 inch template, D6. A 3 inch template, 2D6. And a 4 inch template, 3D6. So quite a lot of potential hits and kills with that one. This also favors the ambusher a lot, but at least it becomes more random, and you could potentially like roll really badly all ones and nothing much happens. But at least you get around the issue of who places the unit, right? This one, I am told, is the one that I'm going to be playing in the Spanish Nationals that I'm going to in a minute. So that was a weird one. I hadn't seen this one coming at all. I had not thought of this one. Basically, for this to be answered, we're going to have to wait. I don't believe that more FAQs will be coming out, although this really needs an answer, because it's a black hole in the rulebook, right? It's a hole that is not clear, and that it makes a huge difference to how the game is played. So we'll have to wait, but I don't think that we're going to wait for an FAQ. I think we're going to have to wait for version 3 to potentially clear this up. Maybe. Hope. So that will be this September. Until then, I would suggest that you, if you're a TO, you should put in your pack how you're going to play this. because it will crop up. Players don't know how to do this. I don't know how to solve this. There's nothing in the rulebook to solve this with. So you choose which one you want to play and you make it clear in your pack. That is why we have TOs. That's why we have EOs, people who run events. You are the ones who are going to need to make that choice. It's up to you. For me, personally, I like version 2, but I am quite biased for maneuvering. Maneuvering and running about the board is what I like best about bold action. I don't really enjoy just sitting back and shooting. So for me, I would go with that one, but I freely admit that I'm heavily biased for that one. But solution 2 does favor the person being ambushed, right? And you're still going to get a lot of pins and a few casualties. So yeah, that would be the one for me. That was it for today. Sorry, it's not a cheerful one though, but it was a tutorial, something to do. Right. See you next time. Cheers.